Tonight, a verdict has been reached in the case of a Nunavut man charged with second-degree murder. That story and
another storm on Valentine's Day. Corner Brook is getting hit with lots of snow and wind.
We knew we were in trouble.
I'll tell you how businesses are coping with the closures.
Major curriculum changes are coming for junior high schools, and not everyone is happy about it.
I really don't see why gym is going to be prioritized over social studies.
We'll hear from one grade 9 student coming up.
By giving them hugs and kisses.
Well, I liked them. I liked the look of them.
Well, it is Valentine's Day, a day to celebrate love. We get some relationship advice from people of all ages.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Welcome to Here and Now. We begin with an update on a second-degree murder trial in St. John's. After almost 1 month, the jury has found a Nunavut man charged with the death of his co-worker not guilty. Here Now's Mark Quinn reports.
Patrick Sularayak was acquitted late this afternoon by a jury that's been hearing evidence since January 21st. He was charged with second-degree murder after 26-year-old Bernard Otuk died on June 22, 2021. At that time, both Sularayak and Otuk had just finished 30 days of work on a Baffin Fisheries vessel, the Inukshuk. They were staying in rented cabins on Roach's Line when a fight broke out. Police were called and found Otuk unconscious. Later in hospital, he was pronounced dead. Witnesses testified that Sularayak said he had only responded to aggression with self-defense. Otuk's parents traveled from Arviat, Nunavut, to be in court for the trial.
My son is 6 feet under. He never got the justice he should have gotten. I have got his children at home. They wanted justice for their father. They didn't get it.
Otuk's mother said the not guilty verdict will get a mixed reaction in their home community on the western shore of Hudson Bay.
Some people will be angry. His family will be happy. And the hardest part is to live in the same community with him. It's going to be very hard.
During the trial, Sularayak's lawyers asserted that he acted in self-defense and tried repeatedly to calm his friend and co-worker. They said Otuk's death was a tragedy but not a murder. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, while the province's health authority has reduced its reliance on agency nurses, there's still a substantial expense. That's according to the new CEO of NL Health Services. Dr. Pat Parfrey says those contract nurses will be used only as a last resort at a transitional care facility the authority hopes to open in the old Corner Brook Hospital.
We might have to use agency nurses if we can recruit properly. So as a provincial policy, it is that we will decrease the amount of agency nurses to the bare minimum by 2026, and that's the policy of NL Health Services as well. However, our primary responsibility is to deliver clinical services. So currently in cardiac surgery, we have 3 agency nurses. So the choice is, do we cut down the number of cardiac surgeries we do or employ those agency nurses? And the decision we've made is that that's the better choice, to use the agency nurses. So when it comes to the transitional care facility in the old hospital in Corner Brook, we are going to do our best not to be using agency nurses. We know that we have 22 of 34 graduates from Western Nursing Home committed to working in Western. And if we're able to do it and have a model that can be altered not to use agency nurses, that's exactly what we'll do. But if it comes down to the issue of recruitment and should we open the facility or close it, we'll open the facility with the support of agency nurses. That's the choice we have to make. There's been a decreased use of agency nurses and the cost to the system is less, but it's still substantial for this year. And we will continue to try and phase that out over the next year.
There's been a 42% reduction in the amount of agency nurses, and there is a continuous plan over the next number of months to keep bringing that down. And we have teams in every zone that are focused on this plan.
Well, today is Valentine's Day, and on the West Coast, a winter storm almost canceled the International Day of Love. But as Colleen Connors learned, heavy snowfall and wind didn't stop businesses from cashing in on the holiday.
Corner Brook saw snow fly today, and the winds made it pretty messy in spots. So messy that Marble Mountain closed for the day. Schools and some offices were closed too. This snowstorm falls on Valentine's Day. After a slow, cold January, V-Day is crucial to small local businesses, like Humber Nurseries, who order in thousands of flowers every year. But they've been around since the 1950s. They know how to tackle the upcoming storm day.
Because we knew the storm was coming, we knew we were in trouble. I called most of the Friday customers. I called them and said, I'm going to have to send your order out a day early in order to ensure that your loved one gets their flowers. And there wasn't one that we had a problem with that said, no, that's not acceptable. So for the last 2 days, really, before Valentine's, we were going non-stop.
This staff are busy with last-minute arrangements today. Yesterday, they delivered hundreds of bouquets.
Sophie, your last name, please, Sophie.
Down the road at Park West, the phone has been ringing off the hook, with people not canceling but looking for a last-minute reservation.
We were sold out. We did have some cancellations with the pending storm, but we had an extensive wait list, so we've had a bunch of people who's kind of come in and taken up the loss of regular bookings.
While a few out-of-towners won't make it in, the restaurant has 130 reservations on the books right now for their 3-course Valentine's menu.
Oh, it's massive. It's one of the largest days in our industry, and it's right in the middle of the winter. So winter is usually a hard time for our industry. Having Valentine's kind of spikes up our revenues for this time of the year.
Well, the snow just hasn't stopped falling all day today in Corner Brook. It seems most have found a way to still celebrate Valentine's Day, but this weather isn't going away anytime soon. We could see 50 up to 60 centimeters of snow over higher terrain by Sunday. A true West Coast winter. Colleen Connors, CBC News, Corner Brook.
Well, minimum wage in this province is about to increase. Starting April 1st, it will be raised by 40 cents to $16 an hour. The minimum overtime wage will also go up to $24 an hour. The annual increase is based on the percentage change in the National Consumer Price Index. Well, U.S. President Donald Trump announced Monday he would put 25% tariffs on international steel and aluminum imports, including those from Canada. With iron ore being a primary product for steel, the move has raised concerns in Labrador West, where the resource is mined. And while the majority of the ore goes to markets overseas, the Steelworkers Union is still watching the situation.
We're in the later stages of this flow, and considering our diversification of where our products go, we're not going to be impacted or hit so hard as someone who directly sells all the product or majority of the product to the Americans. I do believe the steel industry in Canada is probably going to be one of the first one to feel the ramifications and the pains of these new tariffs.
Well, there's some major changes coming to junior high schools in the province and to what courses are optional. The province says the change is meant to increase student engagement, but not everyone is happy about the decision. The CBC's Jenna Head reports.
The province's plan to make some courses optional for grades 7 to 9 is being met with concern and criticism from different sides. Major concerns from the NLTA and one retired instructor is the students' age.
They'll choose what their friends want or their parents want. And I still feel that they're too young to do that at this point.
Students will be able to partially opt out of social studies and French and completely drop art and music. But phys ed, health, math, science, and English will stay mandatory. One grade 9 student worries what that will mean for school music programs and for students from low-income families.
I do choir, I do band, and I think it gives a lot of good opportunities that since a lot of the programs are expensive, most students don't have the opportunity to do that outside of school.
She's also concerned about cuts to social studies and questions why that's on the chopping block.
I really don't see why gym is going to be prioritized over social studies. Like, people would probably rather do gym than learn about like Canadian history, but it's surprising to me that it's being viewed as like a more important course.
Cuts to French, however, Carr sees as a positive, especially for the many students at her school whose first language isn't English.
It would definitely be really overwhelming for them trying to balance learning English and having to take French.
But for advocacy group Canadian Parents for French NL, the cut means less opportunity to learn the language for students outside of the metro area, where the majority of French immersion schools is located.
And 3/4 of the schools in this province don't have French immersion. And so core French is the way to deliver French programming. And we believe that there shouldn't be a divide, inside the overpass versus outside the overpass.
The province is encouraging the public to share views like that and any other feedback on the proposed changes, which is possible until February 28th. Jenna Head, CBC News, St. John's.
2 suspected cases of avian flu have been reported in central Newfoundland, according to the Department of Agriculture. In a news release, the department says the cases were found in backyard poultry flocks. Bird flu continues to circulate in wild birds since the original outbreak in 2021, and the department says there is an ongoing risk to the poultry sector. The cases have been reported to the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, which is leading the investigation. A chance discovery at her grandmother's house as a child has turned into a PhD dissertation. It's about a family keepsake known as a sailor's Valentine. It's made of seashells and it traveled to this province all the way from Barbados. Megan Collins stopped by CBC's On the Go to chat about it.
Her dad, my great-grandpa, who was a sailor and a cook, he brought it back to his wife, my great-grandmother, way back in about the 1890s. I found it as a little girl and I was always very curious about it and kind of forgot about it after a while. One day, a few years ago, I was in my parents' house and I found it again. And I did a little bit of research and I discovered exactly what it was, because as a child, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know the term sailor's Valentine or anything like that. It's pretty certain the reason why they're octagon shape is because back in the Victorian era, sailors' compass boxes were exactly that shape. The sailor's Valentines from this era were made in Barbados, and they were kind of mirrored after English Victorian Valentine cards. And so these sentiments like forget me not, and there's like ever thine, be mine, they were sort of taken from those Valentine cards, these sentimental expressions. And so these little phrases were also embedded within seashells in the wooden panels. For many, many years, people actually thought that these were made by sailors on ships coming back from like the Caribbean back to like Newfoundland or the UK. That's not true. They were actually made by women in Barbados. So in about 1850, emancipated women started like a cottage industry where they would start collecting seashells and making shell craft. It was always revered. Like maybe it wasn't always, going to be centerpiece in the living room per se. They would never throw it away. So it is very treasured. And I mean, I treasure it.
Well, an area of low pressure is going to be our weather maker through the weekend. As it heads offshore, the winds are going to pick up, and that means it is going to be a windy weekend pretty much across the board. We've got some stormy conditions for parts of the province as well, and snow and blowing. So I'll break it all down for you coming up a little later.
We go now to Witless Bay, where some speed dating seniors gave the CBC's Jessica Singer some advice about why it's never too late for love.
It is the season of love. And when you think about the best places to go to meet someone, find your perfect match, you may not think about this place, the retirement home. But for these seniors, it is now or never, and of course, age is but a number.
Dear Valentine, I wouldn't kick you out of the bed for eating crackers.
Oh, I never had you in bed yet.
Oh, I'm so glad of that. I'm so glad of that, Francis.
Tell me, how did you two meet?
We met to a dance here, and Francis looked kind of lonely. So my friend and I, we said to him there, Francis looks so lonely, I think we better ask him up in the dance. But he wouldn't get up in the dance with us.
How did you learn to be such a romantic then?
Well, I guess it was in me.
Were you speed dating today?
Yes, it was fun.
Did you ever have a celebrity crush, a movie star crush or anything?
Taylor Kenny.
Did you ever end up finding your Taylor?
No, there's a lot I could say, but I couldn't say. Okay.
How did you two meet?
I met him in here, and he asked me, would we go together? I said, sure.
Why did you say
not?
yes?
I liked him. I liked the look of him.
And so what would you tell people who would be surprised that you found a partner now at the retirement home?
Just tell them to go ahead and whatever they want them to do. And if it doesn't work out, well, that's something else.
Or would you say you're in love?
Not really, but I do love him.
Were you looking for love?
No.
Are you in love?
No.
Not yet. We might get closer.
Oh, that was priceless. I like the look of them. Excellent. Now to some young love. Some primary school students in Happy Valley Goose Bay give CBC's Reagan Burden their take on love.
What do you think it means to love someone?
Giving out people puppets, heart puppets that I'm gonna give out for all my friends. Giving people presents.
What kind of presents would you give to the people you love?
Heart chocolates.
And how can you show the people that you love them?
Telling them. By giving them hugs and kisses. Give them hugs and kisses. Hugs, kisses. By giving them hugs and kisses.
And what are some other ways you can show people that you love them?
I don't know.
And do you have a Valentine this year?
Not yet.
Not yet. Are you planning on asking someone?
Maybe.
Do you want to tell us who, or are you keeping it a surprise?
Keeping it a surprise.
Ooh, okay. Do you have a Valentine this year, Maverick?
No.
Is there somebody you want to be your Valentine? Nobody you're going to ask? Is there somebody you're going to ask to be your Valentine?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, who's it going to be?
My dad.
Oh. Who's your Valentine?
My mom.
Can you think about who you love and how that makes you feel? Who do you love most in the whole world, Charlotte?
My mom and dad and my 3 sisters and my dog.
Your dog? What's your doggy's name?
Rocky. And Fluffy.
He's Fluffy? And who do you love most in the whole world?
My family. My family. Oh, my family. My dad. My mom. My family.
Why your family?
Because they're kind and nice to me. Happy Valentine's Day!
Time for a look at the weather, but actually I'm still kind of chuckling at those adorable children that were on just before the break talking about Valentine's Day. Oh my goodness.
It was everything that we needed.
Exactly. It's just what we needed right now. What we also need is the forecast, but not so great news, right?
Well, it completely depends on where you are across the province. I can tell you it is going to be a windy one for most of us. But yeah, it was a bit of an unsettled start to the day for most of us as well. We saw temperatures climb in the east around 1 degree this afternoon. That kind of made everything really slushy, but those temperatures have been on the down slope for the last several hours. So everything out there is freezing. So just keep that in mind if you are planning on heading out tonight. We saw about 9 centimeters of snow here in St. John's, Gander, or central areas, anywhere from 5 to as much as 10 centimeters. And then haven't had any numbers from the west coast yet. But what you see now is just going to keep coming as we head through tomorrow and even into Sunday. So temperatures across the board are now below zero. We've got those wind chills in the minus single digits and minus double digits. And the winds are going to continue to pick up. Towards coastal areas of Labrador, your temperatures are in the minus single digits, minus double digits, and your wind chills in the minus 20s. And taking a look at what's going on right now, we can see some of that snow filling in on the west coast, and then even for the Avalon, some of the flurries showing up as well. So we'll continue to see the potential for flurries as we head through the next couple of days. But there are a number of warnings still in place. Winter storm warnings from the northern peninsula all the way through to Port aux Basques. Most of central, the interior, and parts of eastern Newfoundland, all of eastern Newfoundland, I should say, are under a blowing snow advisory, and then wind warnings extending from the Bay of Exploits all the way through to the Avalon and then up across Labrador. Snowfall warnings from Happy Valley Goose Bay, and then winter storm warnings are the story for the coast, with a blizzard warning for the north coast. So basically what's going to happen is that area of low pressure is going to head offshore as we head through tonight. And in behind that, those winds are really going to ramp up. We're going to continue to see snow up and down the west coast through the overnight, and then coastal areas of Labrador as well. You will continue to see that snow. Now, other than that, there shouldn't be a whole lot happening tonight other than a few flurries for central areas and potentially even the east. But most of us will just see some local blowing snow. But the majority of the snow will be for the west coast and coastal areas of Labrador. And then by the time we get into Saturday, we may see some snow, particularly along the northeast coast and maybe even parts of the western Avalon. So keep that in mind for tomorrow. But really high elevations on the west coast could pick up 50, 60 centimeters in that time frame. Otherwise, a good bet that we'll see somewhere between 30 to 50 for those of you on the west coast. That will be the story up across Labrador as well. Not so much in Nain, but south of Nain, you're going to see significant snowfall by the time we get into Saturday afternoon. Like I said, most of this will be accompanied by some very strong winds. And it's really tomorrow afternoon that I think the best chance of us seeing some periods of snow along the northeast coast and even across the Avalon into the evening hours. So with those winds, expect some reduced visibility. And then eventually we will see some milder air move in for the coast of Labrador and parts of the northern peninsula. So let's just time out some of the wind gusts. Tomorrow afternoon, we see westerly winds or northwesterly winds, pretty much anywhere from 80 to 100 and even 110 kilometer per hour winds expected. That will be the story through much of the afternoon. By the time we get into Sunday morning, we'll see a little bit of relief from those winds, but it isn't really until Sunday night that we will see that. Temperatures tomorrow will sit below zero, so wind chills will be quite significant, but we should sit somewhere between -2 and -6. There's that warm air that I was talking about for the northern peninsula. So you may even see some rain in the mix or some drizzle in the mix. That will be the story for the coast as well. And then the coldest air, I should say, will be in Lab City, where you'll sit under about minus 17. And you may even see in the afternoon areas through Happy Valley, Goose Bay, you may see some rain in the mix there as well, or at least some drizzle in the mix there as well. So we'll see a windy weekend, some more weather on the way as we get into Monday. I'll have those details coming up a little later.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, speaking of the weather, the cold season is the star of a festival in central Newfoundland. The Grand Falls Windsor Winterlude kicked off this week. And for the kids, there are many themed activities, from crafts and games to a visit from the Winterlude mascot. The CBC's Troy Turner was there.
I've been doing crafts. Me and my dad were building a little penguin that was in the snow. No, you just need to make a snowball, then show it at somebody. You get to make snowmans, have snowball fights, play in the snow, and I'm off school.
Do you like winter?
No.
No, and why not?
I like Christmas the better than winter. It's cold and it's freezing inside. The best part of winter, it's snowing. I just like doing the snow angel and building the snowman.
Hi, I'm Rick Mercer with the offer of a lifetime and a very big ask. In less than a year, the 2025 Canada Games are coming to Newfoundland and Labrador, and that means we've got company coming, big time. The numbers are mind-boggling. This coming August, 25,000 people from all across Canada are going to descend on this province for the Games, and every single one of them can't wait to get here. They've heard good things, so we need to ensure they have the time of their life, the games of their life. As a province, we've got to knock this one out of the park. So here's the ask. We need you to represent Team Newfoundland and Labrador at the Games. We need 5,000 volunteers, all ages, all skills. You would not believe the jobs that need to be filled, the experience you will get, the friends you will make. To make these games work, there are so many moving pieces, but the most important piece, the final piece, the mission-critical piece is you. Visit the website, join the team.
All of the country's living former prime ministers are urging Canadians to raise the red maple leaf this weekend. The display of national unity is in response to U.S. President Donald Trump's threats on the country's economy and sovereignty. I'm here at the flag shop in Dartmouth with Carol Aylard. So business has been pretty busy lately. Tell me about that.
It's been nonstop yesterday and today. It's like Canada Day.
Well, what are the customers telling you when they come into the store?
They're basically saying that they want to support our country. That's going to get me emotional. And it's in response to what our former prime ministers have asked us to do. So, yeah, they want to fly it with pride.
Are they feeling patriotic? Are they feeling upset? What is some of the moods that they're coming in with?
Both very patriotic. Flag Day has not always been a real event, but this year it definitely is. And definitely upset with what is happening politically and wanting to support the country.
Have they given any indication where they plan to fly these flags, on their cars, their homes? Or
everywhere. On their flagpoles, on their decks, flying them in the windows, putting them on garden flagpoles, whatever they have. One of the biggest questions is, how can I put this on my deck? Or how can I fly this from my front door? And yeah, so we've got all sorts of creative ways of flying the flag, even putting it on a stick in a snowbank.
Do you have enough to keep up with demand?
We have got lots of Canada flags. Our seamers have been going crazy sewing all January because it's a slower time for us. So we've been preparing for Canada Day. Little did we know we'd be preparing for Flag Day.
Have you ever seen anything like this before?
I've worked here for almost 30 years, and I don't ever recall a Flag Day as busy as this.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. And I know you're busy making those flags, so we do appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Well, as you heard there, Donald Trump's threats against Canada's economy and sovereignty have sparked a big surge in national pride, not just in Nova Scotia, but people are now more eager to fly the Canadian flag. Marina von Stackelberg reports.
This is our Canada flag wall here, and as you can see, it is a little bit on the bare side because we are running out.
From coast to coast, Canadian flags are flying off shelves.
As soon as the door opens, the phone's ringing with people asking for Canadian flags.
Flag shop staff are sewing fast to keep up with demand as customers come in looking to put a red maple leaf anywhere they can.
Wanting to let our neighbours to the south know that they've really ticked us off.
All 5 of Canada's living former prime ministers have written, "We've witnessed a surge of Canadian pride and patriotism in face of threats and insults from Donald Trump. They're calling on all Canadians to fly the red maple leaf this weekend like never before, as a sign of national unity." This Saturday marks 60 years since the Canadian flag was first raised on Parliament Hill, a unique symbol of a country asserting its independence. That sovereignty is now under threat.
Canada should be our 51st state.
The threat from Donald Trump may be fueling renewed Canadian pride. The Angus Reid Institute did an online randomized survey of 1,800 Canadians at the beginning of February. That's when Trump's tariffs were first set to take effect. 44% of respondents said they were very proud of Canada. That's a 10 percentage point jump from just 2 months ago.
The response of Canadians over these past weeks has been inspiring.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he's heard Canadians cancel trips south of the border and boycott American products as stores display the red maple leaf on items made here.
I think it's about time that Canadian pride got a kick in the butt.
That big show of pride in the form of a simple maple leaf. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Ottawa.
An international student in Cape Breton who recently lost her cell phone number is speaking out about the security risks. In her case, Virgin Plus transferred her number to another customer by mistake. Now, the company says there was no information to suggest her information was compromised, but there are wider concerns in the telecoms industry about how criminals can use cell phone transfers to hack into people's accounts. Angela McIver explains.
How often do you use your cell phone number for two-factor authentication? That's when you get a one-time code sent to your device so you can get into a website or access sensitive data. Experts I spoke to say it's best to use an authenticator app and stay away from text messages because they can actually create a security risk.
Yujin Long learned this the hard way after she suddenly lost access to her cell phone number.
I was really anxious because all my bank information and other accounts information are connected to the phone number.
Turns out her Virgin Plus number was transferred to a Bell customer by a store employee in Halifax. Bell, which owns Virgin Plus, said it was a mistake and Long's experience is not typical. In a statement, the company said it found no evidence to suggest that Miss Long's information was compromised and said it removed her number from the other Bell account on the same afternoon the error happened. Bell apologized for the inconvenience. But even though Long's case was determined to be human error and not fraud, critics say her concerns are valid.
What it highlights to me is the vulnerability of customers' personal information. The electronic SIM card is akin to your personal identity right now. It's used as a basis to authenticate numerous services that people are using through their phones, online banking, websites, etc. It's sensitive information and it's vulnerable to fraud.
There is a scam Canadian telecom companies have been battling in recent years, commonly known as SIM swapping, and here's how it works. The person committing fraud goes either to a store or calls the company to say they lost their phone and need to transfer their number to a new device. Usually they have enough of the target's personal information to convince the employee. Then, once they get access, they can start hacking into accounts. This cybersecurity expert says depending on the target, it can go beyond banking information.
Anytime your phone number is assigned to somebody else, it doesn't just mean that your phone calls are going to go through somebody else's telephone. It means that all of your communications, your one-time passwords being sent to your device, your communications with your chat groups and your personal networks on social media will also be hijacked.
He says retail stores and call centers are particularly vulnerable to SIM swapping because employees can be manipulated. In response, Bell says it has mechanisms to prevent fraud and error, adding retail employees are provided with all necessary training, regular coaching, and oversight to ensure policies and procedures are followed when accessing customers' accounts. In Long's case, she says she doesn't feel safe attaching her cell phone number to personal accounts until she can be assured her number won't be taken again. Angela McIver, CBC News, New Waterford.
Well, there's fresh movement in U.S. President Donald Trump's push to end the war in Ukraine, but there is uncertainty, too. With the war nearing the 3-year mark, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he doesn't believe Russian leader Vladimir Putin wants peace.
And I think this is his idea. And I think that all I've got from intelligence, and they said, I think, to my mind, that he's preparing the war against NATO countries next year.
Zelensky isn't saying anything else publicly to back up his claim that Putin is planning to attack NATO countries. Zelensky is holding talks with U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance on the sidelines of the Munich Security Conference. Vance is taking the lead on diplomacy around Trump's announcement that the U.S. would hold talks with Russia aimed at ending the war. The Ukrainian leader is also expected to meet with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
So here's what we've gathered from talking to local residents.
I spoke with a renter who's facing eviction this fall.
It is not for the weak of stomachs.
What does it mean for you to be able to give that advice and to know that you've helped? Don't look down.
If this is something that you didn't know about, let me tell you.
Heather Gillis, CBC News, Happy Valley Goose Bay.
St. John's.
Corner Brook.
Shaji, Innu First Nation.
Grand Falls, Windsor.
New West Valley, Newfoundland and Labrador.
Let's see who Well, let's see who's celebrating on this Valentine's Day, starting with these lovebirds, Delanor and Rona Brake of Stephenville Crossing, who are marking 54 years of marriage. Congratulations to Austin and Lorraine Lowe of St. John's on their 60th anniversary. Happy 55th anniversary today to Howard and Christine Cooper of Winterton. Wishing Anne and Ron Snook a happy 60th anniversary in Clarenville. Happy 59th anniversary to Dave and Emily Kenny of Paradise. Happy anniversary to Faye and Walter Wells, who are celebrating 59 years together. Anniversary greetings going out to Norman and Erla Butt in Swift Current. It's their 69th. Happy 69th anniversary also to Chancey and Nellie Butt of Swift Current. Congratulations to Onias and Violet Ralph of Grand Falls, Windsor, who are celebrating their 72nd anniversary. Wishing Eugene and Bessie Lush from Torbay a happy 58th anniversary. Bruce and Joan Snook from Fortune are marking 58 years of marriage. Happy 57th anniversary to Dorothy and Hubert Butt in Lanceclair. Now to some birthdays. Happy 96th birthday to Jean Tilley of Springdale. Wishing Mary Christopher a happy 93rd birthday in Conception Bay South. Rose Whiteway just turned 95. She's in Lewisport. Happy 99th birthday to Effie Chancey in Clarenville. Wishing Norman Kendall of Ramia a happy 92nd birthday. Ellis Stewart of Glovertown is turning 92. Best wishes from your family, including your grandson, our very own Adam Walsh. Happy birthday to Anne Ryan Butler, who just turned 94. Greetings come from her children, 24 grandchildren, and 44 great-grandchildren. That's a lot of birthday cake. Wishing Sam Skinner in Witless Bay a happy 94th birthday. Happy 94th birthday also to Monica Hindy, who's celebrating on Sunday. Happy birthday to Albert Peach, who just turned 91 in Corner Brook. Happy 91st birthday to Graham Norman of Lewisport. Annie Avery is celebrating her 92nd birthday in St. John's. Happy birthday to Ruth Shute. She turns 90 today. Birthday greetings going out to Charles Jr. Beckett, who's celebrating his 90th birthday. And birthday greetings going out to Martha Goss, who'll turn 91 tomorrow. Another fine crowd. Congratulations once again. Well, cold weather mixed with Valentine's Day might be the recipe for a movie night, but what are some of the most loved romantic comedies? The CBC's Layla Baudouin and Amy Fian spoke with some patrons at a Corner Brook Cafe to find out.
Darcy, we're asking people today about their favorite romantic comedies in the spirit of Valentine's Day. Do you have a favorite rom-com?
Oh, yeah, there's a lot. But you know what? I kind of love Notting Hill. I remember seeing it in theaters and thinking it was super cute, and it's just a good, feel-good movie. It's hilarious. I love how the whole family comes together to make the love connection happen. Hugh Grant and Julia Roberts. It's great.
Is there a movie that comes to mind that when you watch you're like, yes, this is what love is all about?
The Best of Me is my favorite.
My favorite rom-com probably would be How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
True or false? All's fair in love and more.
True.
Great answer.
It just shows me that destiny is real, like you're fated to be with your person and no matter what, it will happen.
Taylor, what's your favorite go-to rom-com?
50 First Dates.
What is it about 50 First Dates that you love so much?
Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore, they're just honestly hilarious together. They've done so many great movies.
That's what we need on Valentine's Day, a man like Adam Sandler.
Why would you do this to me?
And why do you think we love rom-coms so much? What is it about that genre that makes us so, I guess, comforted?
They're just fun and light and a good little escape from the day-to-day, and it's super cute.
Some good inspiration there. I'm right in the mood now to watch a rom-com. But it's funny. I was looking through a list of famous rom-com movies, and there aren't many new ones.
Yeah.
It's all from the 2000s, like the Hugh Grant and Julia Roberts, Sandra Bullock movies.
That's
Do you have
true.
a favorite?
Well, My Best Friend's Wedding is probably one of my favorites. Anything Julia Roberts. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
So fun. Okay, and mentioned the weather. Yeah. It is quite a night to curl up.
It is.
You have a fireplace and some blankets and watch a rom-com.
Not a bad idea.
How is the weekend looking?
Windy.
Yeah.
That is what's going to happen. And parts of the weekend aren't going to be all that nice. Let's take a look at what's going on as we head into Saturday evening. So for those of you on the coast of Labrador, the afternoon tomorrow will actually be pretty decent. But as we head into the evening hours, some periods of snow will move back in. The blustery conditions will continue. And then this is probably the best chance of when we'll see some snow and blowing snow for the northeast coast, including the Avian. Tomorrow afternoon, those of you on the west coast are going to continue to see that. The weather will improve, though, as we head into Sunday. The winds will eventually ease as we head into the evening, but you're still looking at gusts northwesterly somewhere between 40 to 70 kilometers per hour. But as we head into the afternoon, the weather should improve and we should see some sunshine. Actually, coastal areas of Labrador, you're going to linger with the periods of snow. And then other than that, it's actually going to be a fairly decent day, at least to start. Temperatures will be hovering around the 0 degree mark east. Central and the west will hover somewhere in the minus single digits. And then you're right around there for the northern peninsula. Labrador into some milder air for most, with the exception of Lab City, where you'll sit around minus 13. And then on Monday, our next weather maker moves in. This one will likely start as snow again. And then we'll see a changeover. There's a better chance of seeing a changeover to some potentially freezing rain in the east and then over to rain as we head into the evening hours. Some windy conditions again up across parts of the coast of Labrador and some potentially stormy conditions as well. Temperatures with this one will hover around the 0 degree mark, a little bit above or a little bit below. And then for the coast of Labrador, by the time we get into the afternoon and evenings, your temperatures will actually sit into the single digits on the plus side of the mercury through the day. So if you have any travel plans on Monday, keep an eye on the forecast. Temperatures will drop back down by the time we get into Tuesday, with some flurries hovering around 0 by the time we get into Wednesday. For central Newfoundland, you're looking at your temperatures likely above 0 for Tuesday and Wednesday, and then around there for western Newfoundland. And then for Labrador, that warm up on Monday, Tuesday with some windy conditions and dropping back down below 0 for your Wednesday. And same thing for western Labrador, but your temperatures will stay below 0, but a little windy by the time we get into Monday. Our weather photo of the day, a dramatic photo from Cape Broyle.
Wow.
This photo, Mike said that call this sun drinking the water.
Oh,
love it.
Very nice.
Thank you so much for that weather photo. If you have any, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Wow, you can almost hear the angels singing.
That's right. You got that right.
Beautiful shot. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful Valentine's Day and a great weekend.
Good night.